Hello traders and welcome to the weekly outlook and setups volume 212. Iliya here, and you know what we're going to be doing in this video. In fact, we're going to actually have a monthly outlook and setups because the monthly candle has closed and it's already 1 week into the month. NFP is over. It was once again a very tricky week, manipulations or slow moves. So I really hope after NFP we're going to start picking up some steam. Personally, I finished break even for this week. I took quite a lot of trades, but there was one trade that I took on US30 that was a 4R, which pretty much saved my ass. But in this one, I'm not gonna go for a trading setups breakdown because we're gonna have a look at the monthly time frame, so the video will pretty much be a little bit longer. All right, so you know, at every new month, as I do the monthly outlook and setups, I also share like a giveaway for one lucky winner who has got the heart badge. So you get the heart badge if you comment on enough videos, if you are subscribed, of course. And this person is going to win full access to everything I offer. The Fanatic Way program, the Fanatic community, one-on-one sessions, and everything that is inside, which is absolutely incredible. And for this month, this is gonna be Mr. Iliyasu Laval. Iliyasu, you pretty much have a similar name as mine, which is giving you an extra point, right? So congratulations, thank you so much for the support. Really looking forward to having you in the community. Make sure to get in touch with me and get you started to transform your trading. As for the rest, make sure you're subscribed, turn on the notification bell in order not to miss all the videos that are about to come out. And without further ado, let's head into the video. Alright, you know the drill, we always get started with a Dixie, but of course before we do that, let's just have a very brief look at the news. And it does look like next week is pretty quiet, but within the quietness, we actually do have some very important news like FOMC minutes, so that is very important. PPI, also very important, and then we have CPI for the US. Right, also CPI for China, that is getting quite more relevant to the financial markets, but pretty much the highlight is on Thursday when we're going to be having the CPI, and Monday you can see it's a US and Canadian bank holiday, so US session will most likely be dead. But I can tell you from experience, especially when you have bank holidays, that is when the market moves the most. I don't know why, maybe because liquidity and volume is low, so the market makes more impulsive moves. I don't know, but again, we're going to be showing up. Tuesday, we don't have any major impact, so that is pretty good. So let's focus on the technicals. Now, the US dollar last month, it printed a very nice bullish candle. So again, keeping in mind that the US dollar is overall bullish on the monthly trend. And again, if we take like a flip from the low to the high and we actually make it normal like this. So stay tuned for a chart, colors, charts, outlooks, tools, and everything. A brand new video is going to be released next week. So make sure to stay tuned for that. So from the low to the high, we have a 50%. And you can see for how many months the market was just kind of consolidating around the 50%. It is pretty much this year. Because again, starting from January all the way until like July and August, right? We were chopping around and it was actually September that printed a bullish candle. So can we expect a continuation right now? Well, it is very likely, but also if I start dropping to the weekly time frame right now, so yeah, monthly time frame definitely bullish, but on the weekly time frame we have this 10 weeks of bullishness, and you can see this weekly candle right now actually printed with a very nice rejection on top. It printed with a bearish body that signifies that a lot of sellers are entering into the market. So I keep expecting a potential pullback, but I'm always like, don't expect anything, just wait for the market to show you, okay? So monthly time frame is bullish, weekly time frame is bullish with a very nice rejection candle on top, and then we drop to the daily time frame, which is pretty much going to be the determining factor right now, because on the daily time frame, if you zoom in on the most recent market structure, we're having a daily break, and then we're right now having a daily demand zone. Okay, imbalance has been filled, so again, it's going to be really key to see if the market is going to respond from that daily level. As you can see, so I'm not sure how this candle formed. We're going to have a look on the foliage right now, but there was either a tap, a massive reaction, and then a tap inside again the daily zone. So no, this is not correct because the market first threw this very big wick before actually tapping into the zone. So right now, if you actually look carefully, depending on how you look at structure, according to me, the daily range is exactly the same as the hourly range, because this right there is not a higher low and a higher high. This right there is not a higher low according to me. So again, the higher low is from here to here. That is exactly the same as the daily range. Okay, so just to conclude, US dollar is still bullish on every single time frame. Okay, and every single hour time frame. So again, it's gonna be really key to actually see what is going to happen from this demand zone. Because if we break this demand zone, all right, so if we break this demand zone, as I explained in my most recent educational video, when you have a trend change, usually the old structural lows are potentially going to become liquidity. So like for this week, it's going to be very important to see what is the market going to hold from that zone or not. So pretty much this is where I'm going to end this analysis. The DXY is still bullish, but we do have like a little bit of a bearish sentiment right now. But if you also have a look at the momentum to the upside was much stronger than it is to the downside. So I do believe we're right now pulling back inside this demand zone. After NFP, the market is a little bit wicked out and a little bit strange. So again, wait for Monday to show you what it wants to happen. And of course, then just wait to see whether the market is going to hold, because if it holds, then of course that is going to expose potentially this high for daily continuations. But if it breaks, then we can potentially start expecting a bit more of a pullback. So of course, let's see, that depends on the economy. We have CPI next week. That could be a determining factor. So let's see. But so far, bullish DXY. You know that Euro USD is pretty much the opposite of the Dixie. So in this case, we're having a very nice bearish monthly market. The market pulled back above the 50%. It chopped around right there. And you can see we actually had a couple of waves, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves. So right now we're having this internal trend change right there. So you can see the last month closed really nice. So like, even if I take a slightly different approach and I say, okay, this here is a monthly break of structure lower, this here is a monthly break of structure higher, then we have a monthly break of structure higher as well, another monthly wick break above, and then right now we're having a body break below. So what I can say is that Euro USD is becoming more bearish right now. So this can be either an internal break, or you can look at it as a major break as well if this is your lower high. So once again, figure out the rules that you're going to be marking up structure. Personally, I don't have rules for the weekly and the monthly because I don't use them on a daily basis. Now, dropping onto the weekly time frame, well, we did have a weekly break right there, which is once again very important. So you can see that everything right now is pointing to the downside. We took out this major low, we took out this major weekly low, and we took out this low right there. So the last low we took was all the way right there, right? And you can see the market actually rejected from it. So the biggest question once again is, are we going to be initiating a pullback? Well, we don't know. How do we know? Well, most likely when a lower time frame changes, and like in this case, I would love to see the daily time frame change. And looking at how the market is coming into that daily supply, I really do hope it breaks, because if it breaks once again, similar to the Dixie, then of course that is going to expose like a couple of structurally old highs to the left. Okay, so daily time frame is still bearish. It's tapping inside the supply zone, but again, let's see what is going to happen. And pretty much in this case, the hourly time frame is slightly bit different on EU, because we had this very recent shift right there. So we have this hourly breakdown, then we have this hourly break up right here. And pretty much like we have been long since then. The market tapped inside, like it kind of threw a little wick, so there was no really a long opportunity. But then we continued on. We once again broke higher. And then here it gets a little bit tricky with NFP. So yeah, I mean, our high, then the market came in and wicked the low. So your low is, yeah, your low is actually that one. But yeah, it was still wicked. And then we massively pushed up. So again, right now, what is the major low? What is the major high? Well, I'm just going to take potentially that NFP manipulation as my major low, because the market did not realign bearish. It came in, wicked up, wicked down, and then it actually pumped up. Okay. On that pump up, we're taking structural liquidity within that daily zone. Okay. So right now it's really a decision point. What is going to happen? I see quite a couple of outcomes, to be honest. A pullback inside this and a continuation. I see a break above and then a retest and a continuation. I see a manipulation and then a reversal. A lot of things could happen, okay? But just looking at and the feeling the market, what is happening right now, especially after NFP, I do think we can start aligning bullish. Again, I'm not calling the bottom, but I'm only gonna go long if we have this daily break above. But of course, right now, as the hourly time frame is actually picking up some bullish steam, I would be really curious to see what is going to happen if the market taps inside that manipulation area right there, because that is very powerful. pretty much you can see the market was just chopping around for a whole week, and then if Pete came in, it took everything to the last pipette right there. Right, it actually did take this low, and then it just massively initiated outside. So I want to actually follow this manipulation, initiation away from it, then a potential pullback, and then a continuation higher. So I'm gonna say I am more long biased than I am short on Euro USD. And of course, if the DXY actually continues to break lower, that is definitely going to give some steam to the euro, and then we can have a long euro, and then of course we can start targeting all of these old highs, right? So for example, on the 40 time frame, beautiful liquidity target right here. But first of all, let's wait for that bullish confirmation, and then we can start targeting the old highs. So let's see. As we're going to be having a look at the JPYs right now, they had some sort of a strange thing happening. There was some sort of an intervention, I believe, from Bank of Japan that threw a massive wick on UJ. And that, of course, impacted all the rest of the JPYs. And again, this is why I just don't like JPYs. And I'm not sure why I'm breaking them down. But probably a lot of you guys are trading JPYs. So yeah, maybe I can remove the JPYs or maybe add something else. I don't know. Might have to test out to see how the views and the watch time is going to go. But pretty much right now, Euro JPY, it has been chopping around for 4 months, well, 3 months, right? And then this week actually just threw some massive stuff right there. So yeah, what can I say on the monthly? Well, it's bullish, it's at a hard high. So can we expect a pullback? Well, we cannot because we don't have any clues about it. And then why would you trade this? Just have a look. That is 6 weeks of chop, and then this week it just threw like a massive manipulation that pretty much taps, it pretty much tapped inside that weekly demand zone, come on, and massively rejected. So how does that look like on the daily time frame? Well, the daily time frame did align bearish, so but look at this as well, like look at that daily structure. So right now we did have this daily break right there. And right now, let's see if the market is gonna align bullish on the daily or if it's gonna hold from there. So pretty much similar to like EU, that is the decision point right now. Are we gonna hold or are we gonna break? So we're tapping inside that zone right now. But the 40 time frame, if you look carefully, well, it broke up right there. Then it aligned bearish right here, and this one is not valid. So we're still bearish. So we're still bearish on EU, coming in from that high all the way to that low. We're tapping inside the supply. So once again, if we break this daily structure above, that is only when we can start looking for longs, because right now we're still short bias. So once again, tricky. I mean, why would you trade something like this? That is absolutely making no sense at all. And it's like getting wicked down like that. I don't know. So this is how structure looks like right now. We're reacting from a weekly demand zone. The 4-hourly time frame is still bearish. Of course, you can make an exception and say that this is your bullish alignment, but according to me, it's not, according to my rules, which are very, very, very specific. So yeah, let's see. That is your end. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know if you're actually trading JPYs at all. Well, similar to the JPYs, Aussies and the NZDs are also not the greatest pairs to trade right now. So if we have a look at the monthly time frame on Aussie dollar, well, we have, yeah, last month, nothing really. So we had a nice bearish candle the previous month, and then last month of September, nothing really. And again, this one is very hard to read on the monthly time frame because we have like a lot of potential scenarios. This one right there is for sure a monthly break of structure lower, and then we pull back. So then the question is like, is this a break of structure? Is it a liquidity gap? Or is this your major high to major low? I would say it's definitely more bearish than it is bullish. Okay, so that is the most recent monthly low. So yeah, bearish. Okay, weekly time frame, once again, for 6 weeks, we have been chopping around right there at the bottom. So again, no clear weekly moves, nothing. So again, when you have a period like this, then of course, don't trade. Dropping onto the daily time frame because there is nothing too much to extract from the weekly. The daily time frame is starting to look a little bit better, but it does look like the rest of the pairs, like making a nice move down, and right now coming back to pullback, and it's like a decision point whether it's gonna hold or not. But keeping in mind that overall the monthly is bearish, the weekly is bearish, and everything is overall bearish, right? I would say that, yeah, overall bearish bias. And also as the daily made this beautiful range from the high to the low, okay? And this is also pretty much the same 4-hourly range. So I really don't like this when the daily and the 4-hourly are the same range, because it gives you like very big ranges to trade with, okay? So there it is, guys. Very, very, very simple. 4-hourly high, 4-hourly low, daily high, daily low, weekly bearish, monthly bearish, everything is bearish. Again, the question is, where are you gonna short it from? So again, preferably, I would like to see the market tap inside that zone, and then from here start giving me lower time frame confirmations. what I see is happening right now is we're tapping the 50%. We did feel some imbalance right there. So you can start looking at the lower time frames for potential like bearish alignments. But of course, you also have to see how the flow is going to go. Because if Euro USD pumps up, if GBP USD pumps up, then Aussie USD most likely is also going to follow up due to the weak dollar. So let's see. But this is pretty much the scenario I would give. Of course, we can like flush from here, or maybe we can even reverse higher. I don't know, but that is how I look at the Aussie. Overall bearish bias. Of course, the question is where do we short it from? I would prefer to tap inside the zone, but if you start having lower time frame confirmations from here, then definitely go for it. Let's have a look at Aussie JPY, another choppy JPY pair. Now, once again, on the monthly time frame, it's bullish, yes, but again, how much value does that give us? We know that it's bullish, but again, since it reached that high, it has been 13 months, it has been a year since it actually didn't break this high, and it has been like pulling back, pushing up, and then chopping for 4 months. So again, yes, it's bullish. That is potentially where we could expect for it to go. But again, until that happens, you have to flow with the markets on the lower time frames if, of course, you are a day trader. Now, on the weekly time frame, it is also like not giving us a lot of value because we broke up here on the weekly time frame. And then, of course, the range, you can either take it from here to here, or you can either take it from the bottom. It doesn't matter. Both things got tapped right there with this wick, okay? And we reacted, but then this week we had this massive wick down. So again, always think in terms of liquidity. If this low failed to cause a higher high, then it essentially becomes liquidity. So are we going to rush to the lows, take it down, and then maybe push up? Well, again, we don't know. And then we drop to the daily time frame. Well, the daily time frame is extremely bad because the daily low is all the way down there within this demand zone. And yeah, pretty much that's it. If you carefully look at it, it doesn't matter what kind of structure you take. There is no break of structure lower. If you don't take like internal stuff like this, which I don't do. So that's the daily low. That's the daily high, right? And we're still chopping inside it. So daily is bullish. Very good. So this one actually looks, this low looks pretty nice. About to tap below the 50% and also that zone. So I would definitely love to see that drop lower. Now, if you remember, the 4-hourly time frame was stuck inside this range right there. So that was a 4-hourly break of structure, and we were stuck inside this range for years, right? Well, not years, but quite some time. And then we actually finally broke up. Then we broke down and pulled back to try to retest the supply. It failed to hold, and it massively went up, and then it massively went down. So what the hell, right? How do you trade this? Well, again, just to keep it simple, that's your 4-hourly range right now, and pretty much that is your 4-hourly supply. You can make it bigger like this if you wish. You can take like, let's say, well, 8-hourly is just 2 4-hourly candles. So yeah, I mean, you can take something like this. But yeah, there it is. Similar to the Aussie, we're pulling back above the 50%. We're not yet tapping into anything in this case. So I don't know. Are you going to be looking for the market to push inside the supply zone and then flush? Or are you going to start looking for lower time frame alignments from here to take a short trade into the lows? Let's see what's going to happen. Flow with the markets, and again, JPY pairs, just don't trade them from now. But again, I don't want to tell you what to do. If it makes sense for you, then definitely go for it. But for me, it makes absolutely no sense, so I'm just going to leave it here. That's it. Overall bearish bias. We got to just wait and see what's going to happen and how that short potentially could be provided. NZUSD, quite similar to the Aussie. Again, 1 month of a chop, pretty much. Did nothing pretty much right there. Of course, we have a monthly break of structure lower, and then of course the monthly range from here to here. It pulled back above the 50%, but look at how it pushed and look at how it's dropping. So that just to me looks like a push pullback for the market to start expanding higher. But again, technically this is the low we should be expecting to break. But if this high fails to cause a break to low, it could also become liquidity. So according to me, like these are the very major liquidity areas on the monthly time frame. But once again, the monthly, I never look at the monthly because it doesn't give me any value. Like, sure, the monthly is bearish, but I don't know. I can take 1,000 longs, even if the monthly is bearish. So dropping onto the weekly time frame, well, the weekly time frame is also bearish. So again, the latest break of structure is right there. So the weekly range is from here. So there is a weekly supply. Let's make it like that. And then dropping to the daily time frame. The daily time frame is right now a little bit, yeah, it's quite bad, honestly. Like we broke up with a wick, we broke down with a body, then we broke up with a wick, and then we broke down with a wick. So what the hell? Well, just to keep it simple, there is the last daily supply once again in terms of wick breaks and everything. But in that case, I would definitely take wicks. because it's gonna get definitely very complicated if you look for bodies. And then dropping onto the 4H, let's just explore if we have any bullish alignment, and yes, we do. So there is a break of structure lower with a very nice wick once again. And then there is the market aligning bullish right there, even with a body, if you want to wait for the body. Higher high, higher low, that is a valid potential. Come on, what am I doing? That is a valid higher high, cause the break of structure here, push pullback into demand. It actually didn't end up breaking it. And right now we pushed up, forming a brand new structure break and a brand new big demand zone. So there it is. Very recent flow is bullish, but we're tapping inside a daily supply. So let me just minimize it a little bit like that because we're just tapping inside. So again, it's on the it's between these two supply and demand levels. This is a supply and demand sandwich. That's very fun. But yeah, let's see. Again, I do see quite a couple of outcomes, but I would prefer the bullish outcome because looking at EU and looking at the DXY, I would really love to see it actually start going higher. So that will be one of the best outcomes you can have, a pullback into that demand zone and then a long trade. But then, of course, the market can tap inside first into supply, then it can give us a short, and then that short can potentially be a pullback trade to see if we can actually take a long from that demand zone. Let's see, okay? But the most recent flow is bullish. But again, keeping in mind that the monthly, the weekly, and the daily are bearish, doesn't give me a lot of confidence to go long yet. Okay, so let's see. This is how the most recent structure looks like. And this is pretty much what I'm trading. So I'm going to say long bias for now. NZD-JPY, let's make it very quick. So push, pullback. Actually, on the monthly time frame, it does look like we had a little bit of a hard high right there, but not very significant. But a very nice overall bullish candle. But you can see already for just 1 week, the market moved pretty much the same as it moved last month. So yeah, but that is mainly caused by this massive wick that we had. So technically, yes, we do have a weekly structure break with a wick. And then yes, I would just take like the low as our major weekly higher low. So weekly time frame bullish, monthly time frame bullish, then daily time frame is doing some funky stuff right there because it broke the high and then it broke the low. And then of course, yeah, right now we're going to be entering into that daily supply zone. So is this manipulation? Most likely. Like the intervention, that's just another word for manipulation, I'd say. In terms of, so daily range, daily high to daily low, hourly range is from here to here, according to me. So that is where the lower high on the hourly is located. So you cannot really go long on this one because it's shorts. So it's shorts on the daily, it's shorts on the hourly time frame. So again, you can either look for some sort of shorts from that zone, which does not really align with the overall sentiment that we have been covering so far. But once again, the JPY pair makes no sense to me right now. So much better focus on the USDs because right now it's a really good time to focus on the USD pairs, right? The dollar is very high. It could start pulling back. So you can get quite some nice opportunities across the board on all USD pairs. While the JPYs, they're just crazy, right? So that's NZD-JPY, keeping it very simple. That's our hourly range. That's our daily range as well. I have no idea what's going to happen. I could expect a little reaction from here, but the market could just open and pop up to the upside. And then, of course, we're going to have a new high, and then we can start expecting a pullback again. So stay tuned for Tuesday, where we're going to have a look again. That's how it looks right now. I have no bias on this. Well, USD-JPY, again, on the monthly time frame, you just go to it and you say, well, yes, monthly is bullish. Okay, so the value of this one, yes, monthly is bullish, and we have been making a very kind of slow climb towards that monthly high right there, and we're pretty close to it. So yeah, monthly bullish, that's it. Weekly time frame, going on to the weekly time frame, well, it's also getting a little bit high on the weekly without pulling back. So that is pretty much similar to the Dixie, right? Because again, USD-JPY pretty much very similar to how the Dixie moves. So very nice expansive push into the highs. So is it gonna make any sort of a pullback before we pop to the monthly highs, or are we gonna pop the monthly highs and then initiate a pullback? We don't know. And then of course we drop to the daily time frame, and it's gonna get tricky because this is when that intervention happens, and this is what actually shifted all the JPYs to bearish. But I do think that is some sort of a manipulation to grab some liquidity and then to potentially fuel another move higher. So let's see. I mean, if you're looking at it on the daily and if you're looking on the 4H, it just doesn't look good with that big wick. 50% overall of that wick got filled. Yeah, almost. And right now we're tapping inside that daily supply zone, but it's, I mean, just look at the structure. It's not fluid, it's not nice. It has a big wick with this sort of huge stuff that happened right there. And pretty much your 15-minute range is from this high to this low. That is your daily range, and that is your 4-hourly range. So it makes absolutely, is it your 5-minute range as well? Yeah, it's your 5-minute range, and it's most likely your 1-minute range. So USD JPY makes 0 sense to be traded, because pretty much you're trading between this high and this low on every single time frame. I'm very curious to check if actually the 1 minute is the same range as well as the 4H. That hasn't really happened. I just got extremely curious, and yes, it is. Wow. So 1 minute high to 1 minute low, which is pretty much the daily high to daily low. Okay, and all of this right there is internal. Technically, right? You can of course trade internal structure. You can look at 50-minute internal breaks if you want to take a short right there, but just keep in mind that we're short on daily 4H, 30-minute, 50-minute, every time frame, maybe even the seconds, who knows. So yeah, USD JPY, I'm just gonna call it here. Just don't trade JPYs, wait for all this madness to settle, and then jump into it. Let's have a look at GBP USD. Now look at the previous monthly candle. Now this is what we want. Unfortunately, it's GU, and it makes it pretty hard to get into a short trade, right? So right now we are definitely bearish on the monthly between this high to this low. You can see we have pulled back very nicely above the 50%, and we have filled in quite some imbalance. In fact, we came very close to the very last one, but here is actually the one that got filled. There is a little bit left from here. But again, I really do like this kind of bearish, not alignment, but I would say minor alignment. So looks pretty good for shorts actually. But then of course you drop to the weekly time frame, and we have been sliding down for quite a while. Okay, so we do potentially need some sort of a pullback. And then most likely another big short is going to come in. But again, that is going to depend on fundamentals and how the market moves overall. So monthly time frame bearish, weekly time frame bearish. The last break of structure was here. The market did take this weekly old low as well. So the next old low is all the way down there. But first of all, are we going to get a little bit of a pullback? Or I really hope so. I really hope so. How do we know that a weekly pullback is starting? Well, if the daily change is bullish, the last daily lower high is right there with the daily break. So if this daily lower high breaks, I'm going to be really happy, because we can start expecting a little bit of a pop-up. And the first target will potentially be this little guy right there. Dropping on the 4H, well, the 40 time frame is bullish, because we had a break down there and then an immediate alignment bullish. And then we had a break of structure right here. And then you can see the market, yeah, kind of did this funky stuff that it did on EU as well. Wick the low, wick the high. So tricky in terms of like the price action after NFP. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing as on EU. I'm just going to take the NFP demand, because it came in, took out the low, and then it nicely pushed up. At that time on NFP, the market was looking like it wants to plummet, but it just came in, took out the previous daily low, and then just whoop, massively rejected. Similar thing it did on the indices. So I really cannot see the scenarios right now, because there are a lot. We can, of course, the one that I would actually love to see is for us to pull back and then to get a long trade. The one that could happen is for us to break the high and then initiate a pullback and then take a long trade. Short scenario, definitely possible, but looking at the Dixie, and I actually really hope the dollar starts to drop and we start having a little bit of a pullback, because it's probably time. All right, so let's see. But again, the real confirmation for a potential reversal will be a daily break. And not only a daily break, but I would like to see a nice body break to really confirm that breakup. So again, that is GU right now. Let's see how it goes. Personally, I am more long biased than short, so I really do hope we start getting some longs. Trade the pullback, take it all the way up to like a weekly 50%, right? Because you see, it's a beautiful downtrend. So how many highs are we gonna take? How much are we gonna pull back? Well, we don't know. How do we know when it could potentially end? Well, when the 4-hourly time frame or the daily time frame aligns bearish, then we're gonna start going short. So right now, focus on the present, focus on the now, and let's see if we can catch some longs or if the market is gonna continue dumping. GJ, another JPY pair. Well, we had an overall inside bar last month, right? So we actually just swept the mother candle low and we rejected very nicely. So overall, it does look bullish. But then, of course, dropping onto the weekly time frame, well, it's actually clear. We have a weekly break of structure. We have a weekly demand zone that we actually tapped inside. So then transferring that onto the daily time frame. Well, the daily time frame did align bearish, 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 bearish. It came in very nicely. So let me just minimize that zone. Like, yeah, because we tapped it. So I'm just gonna keep it to the wicks right there. We tapped the zone. And right now we are most likely going to align bullish on the daily. So if we align bullish on the daily, then of course you're going to take this daily demand zone. And then of course we're going to be looking for some sort of a pullback. Now the 40 time frame is very likely bullish. No. Yes. From here. It just wicked out that 4-hourly high. We had a similar situation on another pair. But yeah, right now it's coming very close to the daily break, and the 4-hourly break has already happened. So I really don't see the scenarios here. We could pop up, make a daily break, and then initiate a pullback. We can first initiate a pullback and then look for a potential long trade. But I would say longs on GJ, because if GU starts going up and if USD goes down, then I think it's going to be a good time to look for GJ longs. But once again, I would much prefer to focus on USD pairs. So there is our demand zone, right? Let's see how it goes. I'm definitely more bullish than bearish on GJ, because once again, monthly, weekly, daily, no, not the daily. The daily is going to align bullish. But if the daily aligns bullish, then you're going to be trading with weekly and monthly direction. So let's see. That's GJ, keeping it very simple. Let's see how it goes. Preferably, I would like to see the daily break first, then take a short, targeting the demand zone or the 50%. That is going to be forming at that time, and then from there, take it into the highs. Let's have a look at GOAT. So once again, yes, GOAT is going to be bullish on the monthly time frame, and this is pretty much our monthly high, which tried to get breached on 2 occasions, but it still failed, right? So right now we are back pretty much towards the middle of this consolidation period, and we are tapping inside a weekly zone. So this is the weekly zone that caused this very big push. But if you also have a look at the most recent structure, we had break up here, break down, break down. Here we had a little bit of a wick out to take liquidity, bearish alignment, bearish break. Okay, so the last actual weekly break, of course, if you take wick breaks, but even if you take bodies, well, there is your break, right there, body break, and then you had a bearish break right there. So that is the last weekly bearish break, and that is the last weekly supply. So still analysis remains the same. Now, after last week's flush, this week is also flush and tapping us very nicely inside that demand zone. And it's getting very, very, very close to actually taking out the low. Okay. Now, as you know, the DXY could start reversing lower. So if the DXY reverses lower, well, that means for GOAT is that the GOAT is going to go higher. But if you just look at the weekly and the daily, that is a massive dump, right? It's a massive dump. So why is GOAT dumping like this? Well, maybe because people are investing in bonds, maybe. So if I have a look at the 10, I don't know how to type it, treasury deposits, treasury yield, 5 years. Yeah, I'm really not sure if that is, but yeah, look at that. So if you just look at a normal treasury bond, treasury yield, you can see that it's massively pushing up, which pretty much looks like the same as gold. You can see gold is massively dumping lower, while this one is massively pumping higher. So what I could make sense of is that people are putting their money more into bonds. Why? Well, because they are safer, of course, right? So yeah, massive daily leg from daily high to daily low. So we're very, very low. And yeah, right now on the 4H, you can see that the market is slightly a bit chopping at the bottom. So this one right now is no longer relevant because we have new structure forming. Right there, we had a break. Then we had another break lower with a wick, followed immediately by a very nice trend change to the upside right here. So we're having a trend change exactly at the bottom of that weekly demand zone. So I'm just going to take this demand zone and really, really minimize it like that, just to know that we're tapping inside that zone, but again, not to keep a very big zone like that. So let's see. I mean, this is a very good confirmation right here for potential lower low on the daily. So what I'm gonna say is we can try to take a couple of longs on gold if the DXY breaks lower. So if you're trading gold, you should always be looking at the DXY because they pretty much move in the opposite way. So this is my gold analysis right now. I really do like that we came all the way down into that weekly demand zone. We're very bearish as well, but we had this very recent 4-hourly alignment, and we can potentially expect a little pullback if the DXY shifts lower. Okay, but also keep in mind that gold has a pretty much, if you just think about the whole financial system, gold is a sort of an investment which has more risk, right? More reward, but more risk. So usually people are conservative, risk averse, and they are gonna much prefer to put their money into bonds that are guaranteed they're going to make a return, right? A lower return, but guarantee. And usually people are going to pick guarantee, right? So a lot of money right now is probably flowing into the bonds while exiting gold. And this is why we see this massive flush. Okay, so let's see. That is gold. Let's see how it goes, but I'm just gonna say that I'm more bullish than bearish, and if like the whole sentiment of the market goes on a risk-off sentiment, risk-on, which is pretty much bearish dollar and bullish euro, bullish pound, bullish gold, we could definitely take some nice long trades. Let's see. All right, it's time for indices, starting from US 30. Now, on the monthly time frame, this one is technically bullish, but you can also look at it in a bearish standpoint. I mean, if you take a look at this little monthly break, then of course you're gonna have a breakdown, and then we're gonna have another breakdown, but then you're gonna have another breakdown, and then you're gonna have a breakup right there. So technically right now, if you look at very recent structure like this, and you take very aggressive breaks, I'd say very aggressive structure, then that is gonna be your last monthly higher low. Okay, and you can see we're very deep inside. Now, coming into the weekly time frame, we can refine that all the way down to this little guy, so we can keep the zone smaller. But what I really like is that actually the weekly time frame had a break here, and right now we're having a weekly trend change. So let's actually type it down. So that is a weekly trend change, okay? And we're currently sitting at a lower low, and this is potentially our weekly supply zone. So very nice bearish sentiment on the indices right now, but they are sitting at a lower low, well, especially US 30. We're tapping in inside the very last kind of, even if I do refine this to the daily time frame, this is where we're getting in, right? So this is a monthly to weekly to daily zone. We retested the very last one. So right now on the daily, what we have is we have another break of structure right there on the daily. And this is the last daily lower high. So the big question is, are we going to flush from this daily lower high, or are we going to pull back a little bit more on the weekly? Because you can see the weekly has a lot of imbalance. So this week is going to close with that imbalance right there. And of course, from last week, we have this weekly imbalance. So again, the key question is, are we really going to pull back to fill weekly imbalance? Well, if you have a look on the daily, there is no imbalance at all. Like it got filled here, then there is one, it got filled right there. So again, the decision point is this daily supply. So daily, that's pretty much the decision point. So let's see how the market is going to respond from that. And of course, going on to the hourly time frame, I took a beautiful short. The short that I took was this one, but I took my profits very early. So if I just jump quickly on the 15-minute time frame, this is where I took it, and this is where I closed. Come on. I closed at the Asian low right there, and then the market gave a brief pullback, and then it flushed to like the 40R, but I don't care. Took my profit, so cannot really want more. Now, right now, the 40 time frame has aligned bullish, or has it? Well, we just wicked the high. So very tricky situation, because the last structure break was exactly right there. And then all of this is in turn, and then we come in, we tap inside the daily zone, and we also kind of sweep that hourly high. So very tricky, but as I told you, well, the current sentiment, if it goes a little bit risk on, Euro climbing, GU climbing, Aussie maybe and NZD climbing as well, gold climbing, then of course indices are gonna follow. So with that very recent bullish break, and after all of this choppiness that happened right there, the liquidity we grabbed during NFP and then the expansion higher, I would definitely entertain a long idea. So something like that, okay? If this daily point breaks, we can start expecting that weekly imbalance to be filled. Okay, so can we have that weekly little pullback before we drop even lower, or are we gonna drop lower? Again, we don't know. Well, let's see. But that is how the market looks like right now. We have a very recent forward alignment, although it's with a wick. I really do like the count that printed right there. We just swept it. So let's see if we pull back, and let's see if we can get any sort of confirmations from the zone, then take it higher into the higher high. So the thing that I wouldn't like to see is the market tap inside immediately here and then start doing nonsense, because there it's going to be really tricky to see what is going to happen. But of course, I'm going to have it as a potential scenario. So that's US 30. That is my preferred outcome. Pullback, long trade. Nasdaq is usually the strongest index, well, pretty much because tech companies, they're pretty volatile and they are the most profitable, in fact. So we are having a very nice bullish push right there on the monthly time frame, and the monthly time frame on this one is definitely bullish, because even if you have a look at like aggressive breaks, there is some sort of a breakdown, but then the last monthly breakup is here with a very clear body, And technically on the monthly, we're trading from this low all the way to this high. Okay, so we had 2 months of a pullback, and right now, what are we gonna do? Dropping onto the weekly time frame, well, let's have a look what is happening here. We did have a break up, and then we did have a slightly wick break down. Then we pull back, lower high, then we break lower again with a wick. So technically right now, this is our weekly supply zone. And so yeah, weekly is bearish, but with a very nasty wick break. Daily time frame, yeah, it's very tricky because here according to me, there is no valid structure. So the daily high is here to daily low, okay? We're pulling back to fill the imbalance, and right now we're filling in the first kind of daily imbalance that I see just right now. The question is, are we gonna go for a little bit higher, maybe to reach all the way up here? We don't know. So right now it really depends also on the 40 time frame. The 40 time frame is definitely bullish right now. So same thing as on US 30. I'm gonna drop this demand zone right there. We definitely do have a very nice 40 structure break right here. So there it is. Very nice, very simple. So when you have pure imbalance like this, very unlikely the market is gonna react. So I'm just gonna target this. So if we have a very nice pullback, tap inside here and then a long trade, you can definitely go for a trade like this. But again, don't swing for the fences because you never know what's gonna happen and how the market is gonna reverse. But there is my Nasdaq analysis. Daily bearish, that's the zone. And this is potentially when I want to see the market come in order to then have that decision point whether we're going to reverse lower or whether we're going to shift bullish on the daily. And then, of course, in order to get there, I would like to see a 40 pullback inside the zone to take a long trade. So that's Nasdaq. I'm more long biased. Really hope they actually go long. Similar to Nasdaq, SPX is also bullish on the monthly after this break of structure lower to break of structure higher right there. Push, pulls back, very nice bearish month last month. So right now the question is, what are we going to do from this point? Are we going to carry on to the upside or are we going to pull back a little bit more? We don't know. But then the weekly time frame gives us a sign because we have a very nice break blower right there. So again, like, is the weekly break here? Yes. Well, there we have another weekly break here. Very nice. It's at a lower low formation, and that is our potential weekly lower high. And we do have a lot of imbalance right there, as you can see, to fill on the weekly. Okay. So if we take this one and we refine it to the daily time frame, well, yeah, I mean, you can draw like 2 of these. So I'm just going to keep the weekly, knowing that this is a very big empty space to be filled. Now, when it comes to the daily time frame, it's still bearish actually. Daily break, daily lower high, but it's about to encounter once again that decision point, because if we break this daily high, that potentially becomes liquidity immediately. And then of course the question is, are we going to come all the way up towards that supply zone and then potentially look for a trade, or are we going to respond from the imbalance and reverse? Now, dropping onto the 40 time frame, well, 4H was trading between this high to this low. The market aligned bullish exactly right there. And then very similar to all USD pairs like EU, GU, and I'm not sure about AU and NU, but also like US 30 and Nasdaq. NFP did the manipulation and then we massively pumped up. So what I would really love to see is a pullback, long trade, target the daily high, target the liquidity, and then from there, we're going to see how the market looks like and we're going to draw new analysis. So that's it right now. Again, supply and demand sandwich, tapping inside daily supply, but 40 time frame aligning bullish at a weekly lower low. So if that sentiment is going to shift to risk on, then we can definitely have some nice long trades. So let's see. So to conclude, DXY also at a daily decision point, which is also the same range as the 4H. So we really have to see if the market is going to hold from here, or if it breaks. If it breaks, it's going to be much better because that is potentially going to unlock bullishness on Euro USD, which is already showing us signs of becoming bullish. So that could mean that the DXY can potentially shift bearish. But of course, we gotta be looking for that little pullback in order to take a long trade. And this is pretty much the setup we have on EU, GU, and indices. Now, the JPY pairs, don't trade them. I mean, look for something else to happen because UJ is crazy. And yes, they're all kind of bearish on the daily. Some of them have aligned bullish on the 40 time frame, but they're just not looking good. The Aussies and the NZDs, so I mean, Aussie dollar is bearish. But again, we're in a very kind of tricky spot exactly in the middle. We want to trade. We want to sell high, or we want to buy low. Right now we're in the middle, so don't force it way too much. Again, JPYs we don't trade. NZUSD does look very nicely bullish right there, climbing towards that daily supply. So if we can take a long towards it, that's good.
But if it first stops inside the supply, then start expecting shorts. Here's the JPY. Incredible thing happened right there with this big wick. GBP USD long bias right now in terms of the FOIH. So really looking to see how the scenarios will go. Are we first going to break the daily high and then pull back? Or are we first going to pull back and then target the daily high? Let's see. GJ bullish, although it's a JPY pair and I wouldn't really look at it. And gold as well, giving us that first sign of a bullishness. So let's see if it's actually going to continue climbing higher. That is really going to depend on the sentiment. And if the DXY goes lower, then of course gold is going to go higher. And indices, they all have the same setup. Like for example, they're all bullish on the FOIH, but Nasdaq is also bearish on the daily. Yeah, they're all bearish on the daily, but all of them have aligned bullish on the 4-hourly time frame. So let's see if that bullish alignment on the 4-hourly is going to follow through. Personally, I'm going to be looking for some longs on the indices. And yes, this is pretty much how I'm going to end it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what is your favorite pair looking for next week. What are you going to be trading? Let me also know if you want me to cut on some pairs. Like again, I'm sure like one of you is going to trade a JPY, but the rest are not going to trade. So I'm really looking to decrease the list of pairs because the video is very long, and again the average watch time is like 10 minutes. So I'm making a 60 minutes video while the watch time is 10 minutes. So again, gotta find a way around this. Let me know in the comments. Now, wish you an incredible weekend, and I wish you a crushing week ahead of you. Stay patient, follow the plan, and let's crush it.